You're watching a Highwire Media podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to Political Show. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you're new. So it's been a while since our last Senate prediction, and the 2026 midterms, they are coming. They are on the horizon. We are less than a year from a lot of these primaries that will be taking place in various states, and we are always in election season. This is true. Donald Trump is president now, and he has a trifecta that can help him get things done. He's going to want to keep that, especially with all the roadblocks that he's had to deal with in terms of these judges that we see. He needs to fill these judgeships, and a very important thing to be able to do that is to have control of the U.S. Senate. It would get a lot easier if he was able to expand the U.S. Senate majority that the Republicans have, in addition to keeping the House, which is a whole other discussion. We'll do a House prediction at some point as well, updated one that is. But looking at the Senate map once again, it's a very, very beneficial for the Republicans. There's not a lot of flips that the Democrats could have to the point where the question isn't even, can Democrats retake the Senate? The answer is probably not. The question is, do Republicans, lose a seat, stay where they are, or gain a seat or two? The highlighted states here, two of which are clear competitive states, are Michigan and New Hampshire. Both were decided by less than 3 points in the 2024 election. And then you have Minnesota. Those are where incumbents are retiring. Kentucky on the Republican side, thankfully Mitch McConnell is gone. He's kind of been this dead weight for Republicans in some of these key Senate races as well, ruining the Republican brand. He's one of the least popular figures in the entire country, and now he's retiring. So thank God for that. But in terms of the upcoming election, we have plenty of seats that we're going to fill out. And the goal is to get to 50 if you're the Republicans. Because if they get to 50, which is almost guaranteed, J.D. Vance would be the one breaking ties, whereas Democrats need to get to 51 so they can have a clear majority. So it's very difficult for them. We're going to start with the Republican states: Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota. Those are all going to be in the safe Republican column, which means that Republicans are going to win them by 10 points or more. Nebraska as well. Now, it is true that they're trying to run that independent as some, Democrats stand in who's going to get all the Democrat votes and possibly pick off some Republican votes to make it competitive. But I think Ricketts is going to end up winning anyway. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio. Those are all going to be safe Republican, meaning they'll go Republican by 10 points or more, in my view. Now for the Democrats. All they have in the safe column is Colorado, Oregon, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Delaware. Obviously, Illinois will be in the mix as well, but it's like you're looking at this and the Republicans are defending a lot of seats. But they're in states with, a lot of incumbents and just states in general where Democrats just have zero chance. So out of the gate, they're basically sitting at 49 in terms of the seat. They're going to win by 10 points or more. Now we can move to the likely states. Iowa is one of them. Again, I think it's very possible that the state of Iowa could go red by more than 10. Just being a little cautious here because it is true it's a little bit of an off-year election. The Democrats are going to run a probably more competitive race at the governorship because they found a decent candidate. But still, I do think Republicans are going to win that by over 5. They'll win the Senate race by over 5. They'll sweep the statewide offices most likely. And then Texas. It's another one which, again, could very well go Republican by over 10 points. And that's true. But at the same time, I think you're going to see a primary where John Cornyn's going to lose to Ken Paxton. And Paxton is somewhat controversial, and this is true, but still, Texas is Texas. It's turning a corner. Paxton is well worth the risk to, maybe win by a few points less, but still win. In 2022, they tried to take him out. They tried to primary him out. Didn't work. He ended up winning by roughly the margin Governor Abbott won by in the state Texas, despite being, an abortion hardliner right after the Dobbs v. Jackson Supreme Court decision. So either way, those states are going to go red by 5 to 10 points. Now on the Democrat side, we'll do their seats that'll go in a likely margin for them. New Mexico is one of them. It does seem as if the Republicans aren't really running or fielding anyone too strong for that race. Minnesota, again, I think that this belongs in the likely column. It could be in the lean column, though, Just depends on who the nominee is. So, that's a little subjective. It'll be around, 5 points or so, maybe a bit more. The propensity in the state of Minnesota, the demographics in the midterm, probably benefit them as they usually do in the upper Midwest. But still, it's not impossible. Republicans could go out there and compete in like Michigan, which is an open seat as well. Also, New Jersey's moved right, but it is a midterm year. They have an incumbent senator there, but we'll see. It's a little too early to gauge it. It could very well go blue by more than 10, or maybe it'll be more competitive than we think at the end of the day. But still, it's not going to be a race that Republicans are really going to pick off. And then you have the state of Virginia, where Mark Warner, he's running for re-election. It seems Republicans aren't really fielding anyone too strong. But still, Virginia is not like the most blue state ever. If they run somebody who's replacement level, it's probably going to go blue by like 8 or 9 points or so. So 51 to 44 for the Republicans when the likely states are counted. They already have a majority plus 1. They have 53 seats right now. Now we get into the more competitive seats, which are going to go in either the lane column or the tilt column. And I think we'll just go state by state here. We'll start off with the state of Maine, where Susan Collins is an incumbent. And every year, they'll show her approval rating being down, and Democrats will think that they could go out there and get her. The only problem is, it doesn't seem like there's a candidate that is really strong that they can find. It's not really like that Jared Golden goes for it. Golden has worked for Susan Collins in the past. If anything, he likes Collins. He could even consider backing Collins. And then the current governor there, Janet Mills, she's 77. They put up a strong candidate who was like their state House Speaker in 2020. She was up in the polls by 10 points, and she lost by 10. It's one of the biggest polling misses ever. Maine is a hard state to poll, but Susan Collins, I think, is going to be the favorite. They might try to keep it close, but she's one of the people who, we don't really like her too much. But it's like you can tolerate her because it is Maine. She still comes through more than you would think. A lot more than Lisa Murkowski, who's another primary target for 2028. And it's also why ranked choice voting being repealed, being back on the ballot again this time in Alaska, is good. But the repeal side really needs to seize the narrative there and put more effort into it, because they didn't put enough effort in it last time. It's still almost passed. Still, that's beside the point. Either way, we need the Senate majority, and Collins winning in Maine is an objectively good thing compared to the alternative. I don't think that wasting time primarying her is really all that worth it when you have other options like Mike Rounds, Bill Cassidy, John Cornyn, even Lindsey Graham, who are in red states who I would consider much higher primary targets based on their performance. You have people in some of these places, like Cornyn. He's not even that much better than Collins, but his state voted for Trump by like 20 points more than Maine did on net. So we really need to prioritize them because we can get them. Otherwise, we'd just be spending time and wasting time trying to elect a Democrat in Maine. I don't know. I feel good for a day or something. But up next, we have New Hampshire, which again, this was a close state that I think it's probably could go red in the Senate if Chris Sununu decides to run, but instead he decided to once again be lazy, be selfish, and not go for it. This is a state that was closer than North Carolina was. It was closer than even like Nevada was in 2024. If Republicans put more time and energy into it, it's possible they could have flipped it. And it's an open seat now. Democrats have Chris Pappas going for it. He's not the worst candidate overall, but the electoral juggernaut senator they have had before is retiring. Now, Republicans are very likely going to nominate Scott Brown, who's more solid than Chris. I think he can win. I just think right now you'd have to say it starts off in the lean Democrat column. He's much better overall on the issues. He'll be a much more reliable vote. He was a senator in Massachusetts, and he was very solid. He was an electoral titan there, and he ran a close race in 2014 in New Hampshire. He's more established there. He's less of a carpetbagger as it stands now, to the point where, yeah, he's going to run a competitive race. I just think it's too early to say, oh, he's going to win. So then we have Michigan, and this is one that the Republicans at the governorship level can flip because it's a three-way race. You have John James running for it, who's a strong candidate overall. The Democrats are probably going to put up somebody weak, and then the candidate they couldn't recruit, but who would have been strong, Mike Dugan, he's running as an independent, and there's this big rift here. So Republicans, probably if they get to like 42 to 43%, which I think they probably would in the state of Michigan, they're going to win the governorship if Duggan stays in the race, which again, we don't know what can happen. We always have to prepare for the alternative, prepare for the worst. But still, Michigan is definitely a race at the Senate level that's going to be a bit harder. But it got a lot easier because Gary Peters had just decided not to run for re-election. And the Democrats very well could put up one of their less palatable options for this race. Excuse me. Still, Michigan is a state where if you want to win, you need to get out a lot of these white working class voters. And Republicans have struggled to do that in these midterm elections. Not much as they've struggled in special elections, but still, Michigan is a state where it's going to be possibly close, depending on who the Republican nominee is. But I would say it's going to start off as a lean Democrat, but not impossible to win. It's a little bit of an uphill climb. It also depends on the state of the economy. What is Trump's approval rating, et cetera, because a lot can happen in 6 months, let alone 18 months. So then we go to North Carolina, and this is an interesting one because it's very likely that Roy Cooper, who's the Democrat or former Democrat governor of North Carolina, who many Democrats had hoped would run, seems like he's not going to. In fact, Wiley Nickel, who's a congressman or former congressman from North Carolina, and is close friends with Roy Cooper, he's angling for it, and he's already announced his run. The Democrats are propping up to the point where Cooper probably doesn't go for it. And even if he does, you'd have this massive divided primary field thing going on. And I think it makes it easier for Tom Tillis overall. He's not really the best. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a primary challenger to him either that's going to be all that viable. He knows when to vote right come election season. I'm not really the biggest fan of him, but like I said, I'd rather knock off somebody like a Bill Cassidy or like a John Cornyn than to try to primary out somebody in a swing state where the established incumbent's going to be more likely to win, and we need the majority. So overall, North Carolina, I think that's going to go Republican. Tillis isn't the strongest in my book, but still, Wiley Nickel is not really that formidable of a challenger. And because it's North Carolina, you do have the midterm, propensity favoring Republicans, because the college-educated white voters that are high propensity demographic in the South vote Republican. The same thing goes for Georgia, and I think this one does hinge on the Republican nominee for Senate in Georgia, but I think Brian Kemp is going to go for it. He's not really somebody that I like a whole lot, but he is an electoral juggernaut. You're not going to beat him in a primary. You're not going to beat him in a general election. Probably. His original win was a fluke, and honestly, I think you could make the case that Brian Kemp would win by more than 2. He'd get to the 50% plus 1 threshold in round 1, which would be more than enough for him to win the race and win by a lean margin. So this is the map in my opinion. Republicans at 54, Democrats at 46. There's not that many competitive races, and it's true that we're going to know very early on in the night if Republicans are going to expand their majority or not, because North Carolina and Georgia, they do count relatively quickly at this stage in the game, and those are, the most competitive seats overall that we know. So, Republicans at 54, Democrats at 46, Thanks for watching this video, guys. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to be notified of future videos. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.